We're really not interested in developing cookie cutter coaches. We're really interested in who are you as a coach? How do you show up? Even at beginning level of leaders, we don't want to create one size fits all. We want to see what are your strengths? What is the environment that you thrive in? What is the environment that you like to coach? What are the clients that appreciate you as a coach?
I'll make it as a coach, light the spark inside, empower every soul to turn the tide. I'll make it as a coach, help others grow, changing lives with every story I know.
On last week's episode, I met Kirsten Dierolf. And Kirsten demoed her coaching approach, solution-focused and narrative coaching with me as a client. There, I met Kirsten as this very down-to-earth, gentle and playful woman who started out with studying theology and teaching English at a German community college. Today, we also meet Kirsten, but we meet Kirsten, the businesswoman, who built really an empire of a coaching academy, an online business where 6,000 coaches have been trained according to EMCC and ICF standards. Kirsten has also been the president of ICF Germany and truly is a thought leader in the industry. Let's unpack her views on how she sees that industry, which accreditation she believes makes sense for whom, and how she structures her online marketing funnel. This is The Making of a Coach. I'm Tobi from metaFox. Let's go. You're training coaches on more than 50 courses per year globally at the Solutions Academy. Who are these coaches and what is their goal they are coming with to you?
So we have all different kinds of coaches who are coming to us or not coaches yet. We start with our coaching for managers and leaders, coaching skills for managers and leaders, which is an EMCC accredited training at foundation levels where we train coaches in-house. And when companies want to enable their leaders to become coaches. So that's our first, and it's a very short training. And these would be managers, leaders, project managers, all sorts of people who could benefit from knowing coaching skills, the language skills that are and attitudes that are useful for a coach are also useful for managers. So they would be using those. Then we have people who want to be more professional in their coaching, and those would be engaging in coaching fundamentals for ACC and EMCC practitioner level, from zero to being able to have a structured coaching conversation centered on the client within 24 weeks. Then for more experienced coaches who want to refine their coaching skills and attain the level of professional certified coach by the ICF or senior practitioner by EMCC, we have coaching in organizations. We try to offer everything you might need to become coach or use coaching skills. And we try to get good coaches an easy path to certification because usually coaches are people who like coaching, people who love interacting with other human beings are usually not the same kind of people who love paperwork and sitting down and filling in Excel sheets and all of these kinds of things. So what we try to do is use our ability to structure a learning path to make it easy for people to get a coaching credential. And we also have courses that help people who've been trained in other approaches or in non-accredited schools to hop onto the ICF or EMCC bandwagon with the recognition of their prior learning, because we believe in our courses that we want to teach people additional things. We don't want to have people in our courses who already know what we have to teach. So we want to enrich and collaborate with our participants. That's really important for us.
Yeah, makes sense. And you've trained more than 1,000 coaches.
It's the first accredited course ran 2016. I started training courses way earlier, but our first accredited course was in 2016. And then the last 3 years, we had more than 500-600 participants per year. Before that, it was less. Website still says more than 1,000, but it's probably around 5,000-6,000 at the moment.
Okay, so either way, a massive scale. That's what I wanted to get here. And that means I can come to you no matter at which stage I am. I can be a leader who says, okay, I don't want to be a coach, but I want to bring the attitude and the toolkit of a coach into my leadership practice. I can come to you if I say, okay, I'm starting out. Maybe I worked in HR. Now I want to transition, become a freelance coach, and I'm just starting out. And I can also come to you when I say, okay, I'm already coaching since 10 years. But now to get recognition by certain partners, I just want this ICF or EMCC certificate. Then I can also come to you and basically, yeah, as you said, learn only what is really useful and then do the necessary steps.
Yeah, and I think for us, what's really important in higher courses is that we build on what people are already good at. We're really not interested in developing cookie cutter coaches. Do it like this. We're really interested in who are you as a coach? How do you show up? Even at beginning level of leaders, not every leader is the same. We don't want to create one size fits all. We want to see what are your strengths? What is the environment that you thrive in? What is the environment that you like to coach? What are the clients that appreciate you as a coach? How do you show up? Even at beginning level of leaders, not every leader is the same. Leaders have very different ways of being effective.
Yeah. I was going to say, it sounds great, this high level of personalization. You pick me up where I am right now, and then it's highly personalized to my needs. How do you achieve that?
Obviously, it's a training. So the difference between coaching and training is that there is a predefined learning path. Otherwise, we couldn't also get our trainings accredited by EMCC or ICF. They need to know what is it that you're going to be doing. But within the path, all of our trainers are very keen on identifying together with the group, okay, so what did we see in this little coaching demo that the participant did in class? That is your sparkle, we call it. And we try, rather than giving feedback, we try to give feed forward. So we're not saying everybody, okay, so we got this coaching demo, competency 3, this is what you did wrong. Competency 5, this is what you did wrong. We'll mention competency 3 is setting a coaching agreement. What did we see that this person did exceptionally well? And then if you wanted to adapt your coaching to ICF or EMCC, but mainly ICF because they have the performance evaluation, what is it that you would need to add and how would you do it in your way? And not, and so it's basically in the feed forward. Most of our courses have 3 or 4 individual mentoring sessions that are included, and we are really trying also, and I think we're successful. We're not just trying it, creating an environment in the training courses where everybody is appreciated and where it's okay to be different and where our differences are celebrated. Without, of course, we also give feedback when somebody does something that the ICF would never accept. We would just say, okay, if you want the ICF credential, you have to do this differently because it's helping people on their goal. We know that a lot of things can be effective for clients. So we would always mention both. Ask the client who's present, how did it land for you? And then put on the ICF glasses and say, okay, so with in ICF, even though this might have been very effective for the client, if you use this recording as an ICF performance evaluation, you would have to shift these things. So it is a fine line. And of course, we also have a responsibility toward ICF to teach the competencies and get people accredited in ways that, are compliant with ICF. But I think this is how we do it. And I also think that this is something that does differentiate us a little bit from other coaching schools who may be more oriented or more strongly oriented toward the ICF core competencies. For us, because we have EMCC and ICF, we are really strong on deliberate and reflective practice and inviting our students to reflect on what is it that I'm doing in coaching sessions and what is my client's feedback and how do I grow as a coach, which is more the EMCC side.
At this point, let's circle back from how you help aspiring coaches through their early beginnings to your own early beginnings. How did your life look like when you first encountered coaching?
So I had studied theology in the US. When I came back, I was already married and had my first kid in 91, a second kid in 95. So around that time, I was trying to figure out what am I going to do. And I was living in a little village close to Freiburg in Germany. And the lovely child care possibilities were mornings from 8 to 12, pick up the kid. And then if you're lucky, you can get a space in kindergarten between 2 and 6:30, not 6:30, 4:30. So there really wasn't, it really wasn't very possible for me to work. And luckily, my then husband was working and he was taking care of us. And so I didn't have a lot of financial problems, but of course, I wanted to develop my career as well. So I looked at what is possible. And I started giving English lessons at the Volkshochschule, which is even less. It's free public education in Germany. It's less than a community college. Volkshochschule delivers language classes, arts and crafts classes, and I was giving courses for English. So I started because I finished English literature and linguistics as a university degree, and so I thought, okay, why not? And with that, I then discovered that I have a talent for teaching people languages and ended up doing business English courses, which was kind of strange because I wasn't a business person at that point. So I had to really learn the language of business myself, but it was fun. And then I started doing individual courses for managers of a company who had just been acquired by the US. And that's when I discovered coaching as a possibility to help people. One of them, when I said, your English is good enough, go away. He said, but I enjoy our conversations also because you ask such interesting questions like a coach. And then I even discovered that something like coaching exists. And that's when I started doing this train the trainer for inner game, train coaching. And then Timothy Galway came to Switzerland and it was too expensive for me to go. I called the organizer of the first European coaching conference ever. One of the organizers was Peter Szabo in Switzerland. I said, you know what, I can't afford the course, but can I come and translate? Because I'm also a board certified translator of the English language and I can easily do synchronous translations. He said, no, I don't need any synchronous translation for Tim Galway, but I need one for this funny Korean lady called Insu Kimberg and this guy called Louis Kaufman. Can you translate for them? There's mainly exercises. And sure. So we swapped. And I did the translation for Insu. And in preparation for Insu, I was reading her book and listening. Of course, that was like, do you have something to help me prepare how she speaks to be able to translate? And then I listened to cassettes, literal cassettes with 2 holes in them. And I listened to those, practicing the translation. I was like, oh, wow, that's interesting. Because even before, I was very interested in clinical pastoral counseling, for example, like my theology degree. I was really interested in becoming a hospital chaplain, for example. But most of what they were doing at the time was very oriented at psychodynamic and psychoanalytical therapy. Not as I didn't know the word coach, but as a counselor. Why do I have to think about my? It's just all didn't make sense to me in these, and I just didn't find it respectful. So listening to Insu, I was like, oh wow, now that's really cool. And I had also done some work on Wittgenstein in my linguistics and contextual linguistics in my linguistic studies. So it really fit my not very well formulated, more of a gut level philosophy at the time. So that's when I started coaching.
For me, and maybe also most of our listeners, I can imagine, who's Insu and what did she say that you found so useful or so influential for you at that time?
Insu Kimberg and Steve DeShazer are the main originators of the solution-focused approach. Imagine when you need to figure out why something happened so you can understand yourself. If you understand yourself as a counselor and understand all your neuroses, you can become empty. And then when you are empty, you can be a mirror to your client. You can know what is a transference and a countertransference. And only if you do that, you can be helpful to your client. It's one way of seeing how therapy works. This the psychodynamic or psychoanalytical kind of way. And so the premise is in order to help people, you need to have dealt with your own stuff. Because otherwise you never know, is it your own stuff or is it your client's stuff? And I think to a certain extent it's true, but not to the extent that it is lived in the psychodynamic community or was lived in the psychodynamic community at the time. I think they have also shifted quite a bit. And when I first started studying theology, I really wanted to become a clinical pastoral counselor. And then in came these two ladies to introduce the course of study that you would need to take in order to become that. And they were just plain weird for me at the time. Obviously, they were not weird, but they were at the moment. I was like, what is this? Why do I have to think about my upbringing and why do I have to tell myself all these stories of what went wrong in order to, it's not, I just really didn't want to do that. And plus, the people who did it, my fellow students, were becoming the same kind of weird.
And that obviously opened you up to the whole constructivist and solution-focused approach.
And I didn't know. So at the time, I gave it up. I said, okay, clinical pastoral counseling, not for you. Follow your second love, which is philosophy. And so I did systematic theology, which is the theological twin to philosophy. And I loved it. I just became a very theoretical person. I wrote my master's thesis on a Whiteheadian scholar. I just dug deep into complex thinking. But when I heard Insu speak for the first time, I was like, oh, wow, there is a way that is philosophically consistent with what I tend to think, although I didn't know it at the time because I hadn't reflected on it. That is very respectful, that doesn't require me to think I know more about the client than they know about themselves. That doesn't require me to become a blank slate and go into the depth of all of my childhood traumas that I was really not willing and able to look at the time. It's a language to help people. I'm really good at learning languages. Hey ho, let's go. For me, it just really dropped at the right time. And you can see how I would get hooked right away. And then for a lot of years, I thought this was the truth, right? Like you espouse a view where nothing is the truth, and then you think that is the truth. Over the years, I mellowed and was like, okay, you have to be consistent in your own thinking. You can't say solution focus is the truth, but there is no truth. That just doesn't work together.
Yeah. So this helps me a lot to understand where you're coming from philosophically or from your becoming a coach on the framework thinking level. And I'm wondering, how did you back then look at your business ambition? Because today, like, you could have also just become a freelance coach or a counselor and be good with it, but instead you built a academy that makes 1.5 million euros in revenue. And so there is apparently also a lot of drive to grow things and to have that impact also. How did you, was that always there also at that time, or how did that part evolve?
As I said in the episode or a while ago, I said all catastrophes start with the words, shouldn't one be able to? I was thinking that if I'm an individual coach and I'm a freelancer, it's very hard to have anything to sell at the end of your life or at the end of your business life. So I was thinking, what kind of business can I build that could be sustainable and grow what I want more of in this world? So it should make sense, and it should be also something that keeps me sustained for the rest of my life. And I was noticing that I was doing a lot within the solution-focused community. And then 2015, 2016, I decided solution focus and this kind of a worldview that is so helpful and so empowering and at the same time so relieving for people to espouse. It doesn't help if we all just keep talking to one another in the solution focused community and nobody buys solution focus. Now I can explain and say, please buy solution focus because you'll have more fun, your clients will have more fun, and it'll be wonderful and rewarding, blah, blah. Now I can say this. People don't buy it. They don't, if somebody goes looking for a coaching course, they don't say, I want solution. Not a lot of them say, I want solution focus, or I want systemic, or I want this or that. What they want is an accredited coaching. And at that point, I decided, together with my friend Debbie from Singapore, who's running an academy of solution focused training in Singapore, we both decided, okay, hey ho, let's go. Let's sell something that people actually want. My friend Jenny Clark from England always says people are not interested in the technology of the diesel locomotive that takes them from London to Edinburgh. They want to go to Edinburgh and they don't care about the technology. So they want to be a coach. They don't really care. I think they should care more, but we can wish that the market do many things. It never does what we want it to do. So face the facts. People want to become accredited coaches. How do we make it happen? And then I got all the credentials and got all the accreditations for my courses.
If I join now Solutions Academy, very practically, what can I expect? For example, I heard you're working entirely online. So can you take me into an example course? How would it look like?
So let's say you are a coach and you've been trained by a non-ICF accredited coach training school, and you want ICF or EMCC a credential because maybe you want to work for a coaching platform like Sharpist or Coach Hub or Ezra or Insert, all of them. And they usually require you to have a PCC or an EMCC senior practitioner. And you look at all your documentation and see, no way I can do it. I have to wait until I have 500 hours, and you don't want to take a beginning coaching course. So what can you do? You can come to one of our free meetups and exchanges that happen every week and get to know us. Figure out, are we people that you would like to hang out with for a couple of weeks? Step one is come to a meetup and check us out, see who we are, because I think in learning, you have to be vulnerable. So you have to like the people who you're going to be together with. Step three is maybe book an info call with Ruth or Chris, half hour to check your documents and see what we can do for you. Step four, suppose we check your documents and see, aha, okay, this is something that we can recognize. And then we can recognize a third of the training hours required for PCC. And then you can come to our ICF and EMCC onboarding class and That happens, you click on a button on our website. We have an automatic payment system where data ends up in our self-designed automation. You end up in our learning platform, and before even the course starts, you can access the materials. And then when the course starts, you have 2 hours every week, except for intensives, where you have 4 hours every week, where you click on a Zoom link, join the group, practice, learn. Between sessions, you have materials that you can read, peer groups where you can practice. You can engage with our WhatsApp group that has about 600 participants at the moment, heading towards 700, where you can just say, hey guys, I need someone to practice with. And then you get someone who likes to practice. Usually, you get more people wanting to be coached by you than you can actually coach. You enter this vibrant community of people who have very interesting views. Any problem you have, you go to the WhatsApp group and say, hey guys, I have this problem. And then you will see a flurry on the WhatsApp list. Yeah, that's how the course happens. Once the course is finished, you do your 3 individual mentor coaching sessions where you upload a recording. The recording gets automatically transcribed, and you discuss the recording with your mentor. At the moment, we're also experimenting with Ovida, which is an AI video analysis tool. So you can go into Ovida with your client, you can record the coaching session there, and Ovida, the AI, gives you automated feedback on the core competencies. And of course, the mentor will listen to the entire recording, and you will also discuss the entire recording with the mentor, irrespective of what the AI says. But maybe sometimes it's interesting to see and to compare, what does the mentor say? What does the AI say? And this is also something, if you're not sure, am I on the right level? Before I enter a course, we can invite you to do mini recording on Ovida, just to check, okay, what are the ICF competencies that I'm strong on? So yeah, that's how a course happens. And one of the fun things that we've seen in the courses is that since this is all online, we have a really diverse group of people. In the German-speaking, we have Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. But in the English-speaking one, we had a HR person from Saudi in the same course as a Christian missionary. And it's just great, the diversity and the learning and the friendship that happened. One group last year actually even met up. They all flew to Barcelona and had a weekend together because they developed such strong bonds and friendships that they just enjoyed a weekend together. And because this was the first time this happened, I zoomed in via Zoom and had a conversation with everyone. It was just amazing.
Yeah, sounds great. And that is also what I enjoyed whenever I was attending training courses related to coaching, this being on site and also having this immersive experience. And I'm wondering, what do you do to also make that happen in an online community that just meets a few hours once per week? What do you do to support this sort of personal bonding also?
I don't think we have to do anything really. We just don't have to get in the way of it. Of course, we do good training design to keep things engaging and work in breakout rooms. And I've done instructional design for the last 25 years. And I started my first online training in 2006 when nobody even thought this is possible. So I think I'm a dinosaur in that world, but a dinosaur who's keeping up with what is happening. So we use all sorts of tools and lovely things that we can do to keep it engaging. That's the technical side. But I think the human side is even more important because as you are coaching one another in the group, of course, under the umbrella of confidentiality, but you are learning things about one another. We are coaching real issues. We're not doing role plays, we're doing real plays. And that way, people bond and we encourage vulnerability. And we also see ourselves as learners. So all of our trainers would enter a teaching space with the idea of, hey, what can we discover together? Rather than, okay, I know what's right and I'm going to teach you. Our teaching philosophy is really interactional. And I think that makes it possible for this experience to become a more engaging and more more oriented toward bonding one.
Mhm.
And you know what? I think learning coaching is more like learning a language. Let's say you wanted to learn, I don't know, Russian, for example. Would you recommend that someone takes 3 weekend courses of 16 hours in order to learn Russian? Or would you recommend that they take, I don't know, half a year, 2 hours every week? When we look at languages, we're like, duh, of course, just this crash course over the weekend. That doesn't work. You need to have some input, and then you need to practice and do some homework, and then you need some input, and so that you can grow with your language skills. And I think coaching is very much an activity where you have to try out phrases. You have to see who am I? How am I when I'm with a client? And that's not something that you can change in a weekend. So that's why we decided, even though we love the idea of being in physical presence with people, but that's why we decided to do this online, because it's just not feasible to do it on site. Let's say one of our trainers is in Frankfurt, and then there is a company in Frankfurt who says, hey, we want to do managing for coaching skills for managers and leaders. We can also do this on site, but otherwise it's prohibitive. You can't fly to New York once a week to do a 2-hour course for ecological and for time reasons.
Practical reasons.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. So what I hear is you make it personal by actually making it personal. So coaching real issues, not case studies. You keep the groups interactive. So we work a lot with breakouts. So people can actually have a good ratio of I speak versus I listen. And then you say you also consciously decided to go for this few hours every week over a longer period so people can really take what they learn in one session and apply it to their real life, then come back to the course again and go through this cycle over a longer duration.
Exactly.
Nice. I'm wondering also, maybe turning a bit to you personally, how did you manage to, or how did you even come to desire to do this on such a global and intercultural scale?
All the catastrophes in my life start with the sense of, shouldn't one be able to? And in mid 2000s, when I started online training, when nobody even thought it's possible, I was thinking, wouldn't it be great if companies could do their leadership development or their coach training like global companies could do it internationally. So people could learn from one another. You could have people from China, India, Germany, US, as time zones permit, all in one place, and they could be learning from each other. Because I was doing leadership development and soft skill training also for a provider that did this online called TMA World. Really nice people. And I was thinking, coaching, that is it's so important to get different perspectives. And in the global workplace where you are leading people on the other side of the world, it's so important to be able to build relationships with a diverse audience. And now, if we're doing a coaching skills for managers and leaders course with all people from the same background, it's going to be an entirely different experience than if you are trying to coach people from a different culture. So I think that's where the desire to do this originated. And from there, it started with I was giving one course in Frankfurt on site for 5 years or something before I said, okay, let's take it online. Let's do it. And I started with Adobe Connect, I think, from Adobe Connect. once Zoom became a little bit more stable, we started using Zooms, and now we use Zoom or Teams or whatever is available. But the pandemic obviously gave us a huge boost because we already knew how to do what people needed at the time.
When did you start seeing this as a entrepreneurial venture, not as a solopreneurial?
So I guess I started doing coach trainings together with a partner in 2008. And we did coach trainings for 2 or 3 years, but always very difficult to find clients because we weren't accredited. And then in the course of stopping doing that and thinking, how can I regroup? I founded Solution. The label was already Solutions Academy, but I founded Solutions Academy as a school, and I discovered together with my friend Debbie from Singapore, we were this little support group of how to get our trainings accredited by ICF and started understanding the whole ICF bureaucracy. And then in 2020, by that time, we already started collaborating with Christina Mühl, Carlo Perfetto, and Chris Becker as the management team. And Christina was getting on my nerves that we need to get EMCC accredited. And I was saying, no, I don't want to. I have to sit down and fill in forms forever. And then she just kept bugging me until I said, okay, fine, I'll do it. So that's when that started. And it was a really organic growth. It wasn't like, I call it female growth versus male growth. It is very stereotypical and I shouldn't be doing it, but let's use the word organic. I didn't go out and find investors to give me $1 gazillion and then build up a huge machinery but actually what I did was I started with one course, I got that accredited. Then I realized, I looked at the biggies in the market. What are they doing that is actually giving them the reputation and the kind of brand you need in order to create the trust that you need for people to buy your courses? Because we're one of the best deals in the market, I think. So we're trying to always charge as little money as we can to stay profitable. But in order to, how can you actually grow without organically and invest in your marketing at the same time? So it was always like, okay, one more course, profit, invest profit in better marketing. And slowly it grew, and the brand grew, and the reputation grew, and yeah. Oh, I think we're always thinking by way of marketing that we need to give people something for their attention. So when it's not like we go to ChatGPT and say, okay, ChatGPT, can you please write a white paper on this, copy the white paper, put it as a lead magnet on our website. We literally sit down, we think, we want to give people something for their attention, and then they get to know us, they can see whether they fit with us, and then we have a good time. We're not interested in teaching people who think we don't fit. It's like, why should we do that? If they want to go deep into the whys of their existence, they should have a psychodynamic training.
Let's unpack that a bit. I hear this sort of finding your right persona in a way, who also aligns in how you see the world, how you see coaching. So also have that sort of values alignment, and that will come by just the way you present yourself, and you will attract the people. By not trying to attract everybody, you attract the right people.
I think so.
And the other thing you mentioned a few times now, or we touched upon it from several angles, but very practically, it also sounds like ICF and then later EMCC being accredited by them as a school, offering your clients, if you take our course, you will also be accredited by them. That was also a big growth factor. Or I know you've also been president of ICF Germany. So can you explain a bit, how did that evolve and aid the growth of your business?
I think if you want to generalize it, it comes back to selling what people want to buy and not selling what you think people should buy. So I was thinking they should buy solution-focused coaching skills because life-changing, important, fun. But they didn't want to buy it. They wanted to become a credentialed coach. So let's not sell the technology of the diesel lock. Let's sell going to Edinburgh, figuring out what is it that people want to buy. And then that meant getting accredited by ICF. As much as we did not enjoy the process, it was, and I think that's the generalizable thing. A lot of people want to sell what they have, but what they have might not be what people want. Figuring out what is it that people want before you engage in designing your marketing is usually a good step.
And why EMCC on top of ICF?
You'd have to ask Christina that because she made that happen. What I can answer the question, what do I appreciate about EMCC now? And I really appreciate their reflective practice and the deliberate practice that they allow. I think it's an accreditation that is more attuned to what a coach actually does and in order to develop themselves than this test-oriented approach from ICF. Just to be able to offer people who do not want to, quote unquote, jump through the hoops of ICF, people who maybe have a niche coaching market and they wouldn't be able to coach in an ICF way and still coach their clients that way. EMCC is open to them. And the quality assurance is not by coach this way, but by reflect on your coaching, continue growing, continue developing your awareness, continue getting feedback from your client, continue to engage in supervision, and develop the way that fits you and your market rather than demonstrate your coaching skills in a recording and take a test. ICF is the gold standard. It's like the market power in the coaching world. So ignoring ICF, if you don't want a business, you can do that, but it's not an option.
If I say these 6 or whatever ICF core competencies, that's very much aligned with how I see coaching, how I want to become as a coach, then you say, go to ICF. It's the market leader. It's great. And if I want this more reflective, softer approach that is mainly focused on continuous development, then you would recommend EMCC. Can you summarize it like that?
I think both, yeah, you can, and I would say both is best. So I would say, if you want business, get an ICF credential. All the big platforms require you to have at least a piece, and find a school that makes it fun to get that. And then once you've gotten that, continue to engage with ICF to stay up to date and really develop yourself as a coach in your own context. Every coach needs to coach this way in order to get a PCC. But the real development of a coach happens in their context, with their clients, in their environment.
Yeah. And then I guess for you being in the shoes, not only of the coach, but of the coach trainer, both of these were also great platforms to actually get visibility as a coach trainer. Or at least when we met at the ICF event, I could really sense that you are a respected person there. And I guess that also makes it easier for people to say, okay, maybe I should go to this Kirsten to get trained. Or how would you say is that sort of personal interaction? What role did that play in your business?
I looked when I was trying to develop Solutions Academy, I looked at what were the biggest players in the market doing, and most of them have one guru. Look at Tony Robbins. I Am Not Your Guru. Very good film, Netflix, recommend. Look at the really successful coach trainers and coaches. They all have this little guru moment. And I get it. People want to get a feeling for who is this person who did this. And you wouldn't trust anyone with, I don't know, a couple of $1,000 for a training. So in a way, although I really don't like being a guru, developing this trusted advisor presence maybe rather than guru is something I think is very important. There is even a sales book called The Trusted Advisor, the person that you call when you have an issue. Oftentimes they come and say, oh, we want to buy your coaching skills for managers and leaders. And we say, okay, 3 steps back. Can we have a conversation? Suppose we did that. What we consult with them. We make sure that they get what really gets them where they want to be. And having this persona, quote unquote, which is not a persona because it's like me. I'm not consciously saying, okay, I have to be like this in order to like that, because that's, I just could never remember. If I started projecting something that's not me, I could never remember what I was going to project and what not to project. So in a sense, you get me as me, but engaging in activities like doing this podcast, like showing myself at conferences, like writing a weekly blog, like doing our free meetups and exchanges once a week, and just showing myself as the identifiable figurehead of Solutions Academy is trust building. And when people trust, then they consider buying courses with us.
Yeah. And it's easier for people to relate to a face of a person than to the logo of a company. I guess that's it in the end. And develop that role of being a trusted advisor. I heard that a lot. Like Max, my co-founder, he's a big fan of that book. I think especially in the B2B context, when it is about being more of a consultant than a coach. But even you say, as a coach dealing with mostly individuals, you also recommend that image.
If you're the trusted advisor with companies, if they need coach training, or if they want to manage their coaching pool, or if there is anything around coaching or leadership skills that have to do with coaching, they can come talk to us. We'll have a conversation for free. We'll give them our knowledge, and we will figure out something that makes sense for them. Because that's in line of the we don't go, okay, we'll sell you, so that when they have an issue around, oh my God, how do I manage my coach pool? Oh, they can contact us and we'll help. And I think that's really useful if you're a coach and you have a relationship with companies and they know, hey, I can pick up the phone, I can use this Calendly or Acuity link to book a quick half an hour with my friend, and we'll have a little chat. And it sounds a little bit uncompliant, but I think that's how relationship work in the business world. You go have a coffee, you chat about things, you figure out what you could do together. And then, of course, if it's a large company, you still have to do a request for proposals and the tendering and all that procurement business. But I think I would recommend for coaches also to build relationships within their customer base. And one of the things that we say in our business development for coaches is find the natural habitat of your client and figure out what they need.
Yeah. So that is the relationship building aspect, being that trusted advisor, becoming the trusted advisor by listening. There's one last box that I would still like to open with you, and that is next to being the trusted advisor, you first need to attract those people in the top of the funnel. At some point, you started learning that together with an online marketing expert and really building that sort of online marketing funnel. What is it that you did there? Like, how does your funnel look like back then, today? How did it evolve? What worked? What didn't work? Take us into that journey a bit.
Worked with a guy called Ian Brody at the time. And I'm not sure if he's still in that space or if he's doing something different. But at one point in time, I realized, okay, we're actually at a coach training school, but in reality, we are an online business. So let's figure out not only what makes a successful coach training school, but figure out what does a successful online business do in order to be effective. And then I figured out, plus my ethos of I am not going to do this giving people nothing for their attention. I'm not going to do, yay, we're the best, buy with us. First buy a little thing, then buy a bigger thing. I really detest this. It works. Hey, it works, right? The Scientology method of marketing really works. But I just ethically found it horrible. So What can you do instead? And give people something for their attention. And Ian said, you need to get traffic to your website. How do you do that? By having a website that changes often so that Google starts liking it. So first thing, I started writing a blog. Then the blog became a lead magnet for our newsletter, which is a content newsletter. Every week I write a blog and we have opening rates of 50%. So people really enjoy reading what I write. And it's really me writing and not some copywriter or AI or something. I hear about a problem in a free meetup or I go, blog alarm, let's write about that. So I take a morning every week to think about and write. And we developed something that you would call lead magnets whenever we meet something that is a need in the coaching community. For example, this free preparation course for the ICF credentialing exam. And we try to have our ear on the market and see what is it that coaches need. And then we try to provide as much as we can for free so people experience us as the kind of helpful people that we try to be. Of course, this then collects with GDPR, blah, blah, blah. We then are able to connect with these people and then they can come lead magnet, get to know us, blah, blah, blah. And then you can subscribe to our newsletter as a result. Subscribe to newsletter. In the newsletter, you get an invitation, come to our free meetups. You can see us on the screen and you can see if it's a fit. From that, you can go and have a free info call to see which kind of a course you would like. And then you take your first course and then you hopefully recommend us to a lot of other people. And that's how it goes, basically. Very traditional thing, but always with the ethos. We are not doing this to sell you something. We are trying to help you find the right path. And we never think of our free info calls as sales talks. It's okay, let's sit together, let's figure out what is the right way. And we sometimes even recommend our quote unquote competition. If we don't have a course at that time that the person needs, and we know, okay, Ericsson has a course, we'll send them to Ericsson, or somebody contacts me for mentoring, I can't, no, go to Anna. It's about what will be best for you. So very traditional marketing combined with a distaste for marketing and an appetite for making it make sense.
Yeah. So I hear there's this underlying basis of I don't want to bullshit people. I want to provide value. That's a fundamental basis. And then on top of that, there is quite a good online marketing funnel that starts with I maybe Google solution focused coaching XYZ. I end up on your blog. I maybe say, okay, yeah, I want this free PDF with the demo coaching. I click subscribe. I get an email. Maybe then I watch a video that seems useful with a demo coaching by Kirsten. And then I join a weekly group call where basically I get to know you. I get a sense for who is this person. And then if I like it so much that I'm actually considering to sign up for a €3,000 training course, then I actually book a one-on-one call where I'm, again, not with a sales mindset, but I'm consulted on what is the best product for me.
Yeah. And we also have info calls on our different courses. So there's every 6 weeks, there's an info call for coaching fundamentals. Every 6 weeks, there's one on coaching organizations. If you're not like, oh, I don't want to take the time, you can just join this info call and get all the info, because most of the questions are repetitive. People want to get to know us. Before I spend that kind of money, I would want to know, who are these people? What is this program? What am I going to be learning? How am I going to be learning it?
Yeah.
Is this my style? Yay or nay?
And what would you say are the hottest topics that people come to you for these days?
How do I get credentialed? So that's always a big one. How do I get credentialed? A lot is happening also in the in-house coaching sphere, where big companies have coaching pools, and they want to make sure that the coaching pool consists of people who are actually knowledgeable and developing as coaches and are not people who did a coach training 20 years ago and are still offering coaches, but there is no real quality control. So that's something that we're hearing. And then the other is, how do we create a coaching culture, quote unquote? You cannot create a coaching culture. You can support it, you can grow it. And so that's the other questions that we're approached with a lot, from medium-sized to big companies, of what are some of the activities that we can support with, either by supervision training, managing their coach pool by way of creating a little website where they can be booked.
Okay. Yeah. So those also represent two personas, right? On the one hand, we have the coach. I think very much of my previous guest, Ebony, who said she was a coach for 10 or 15 years or what. And then she applied for ICF accreditation to be able to work with companies more, to go into more partnerships. And then the other one that you mentioned now is this business persona. So the company who says, I want to get a coaching culture into my leadership. And this is then a B2B customer
Yeah.
of yours.
Yeah.
What's your spread right now doing the coach training for business customers?
That's a question actually for Christina, because I don't know, but I think we'd be 75 coach training and 25 businesses. But I don't know. It depends on how you calculate it. If it's revenue, or we have more than a couple of huge companies that we're collaborating with. We enjoy that work.
How do they find you?
Yeah, it's people who've met me at a conference, or people who have taken our classes and liked it. We are recommended. It really works on this trusted advisor relationship and understanding what their troubles are and how we as an organization can help and what they have.
Yeah. Hearing you talk about Christina as your managing director,
Yeah.
how do you nowadays work in the business versus on the business? What is it?
Me
You
personally,
divide that for you.
do I work in the business or on the business, and is it a distinction? I think I need to still do things in the business. For example, doing the supervision course, doing the masterclass course, things that really match my skill set, doing the thought leadership, being at conferences, writing white papers, writing books, writing articles, and all of those things. But I don't know if that's in or on the business. Don't know. And then the whole numbers, Christina does, Carlo does, our international partners, and all of the operations side. Chris does all the people things. So the trainer management and customer relationship management. Raf does customer relationship with companies. So the thing with organic growth is that we are really super organized with our automations and everything, but we are more pragmatic than this is a role description. This person does this and siloed. Now we do stuff, and then when organization is necessary, we organize, which makes us
Yeah.
totally flexible for companies because we can be whatever they need us to be. And at the same time, we offer the professionalism because we are lazy people and like to automate everything that is automizable.
Yeah. So maybe trying to paraphrase it with the language we use at metaFox, you are in this visionary role, like external representation for thought leadership, maybe also influencing the company strategy to a good degree. And at the same time, you build a team where all the operations are in good hands, basically.
That's my aim because I'm turning 60 this year.
So how do you see that going forward? Your role versus team members?
Yeah, my aspiration is only to do the things that I absolutely love, and then have other things that I don't love be taken care of by people who love those things. For example, we have an accountant, Jevdet, and she loves doing nitty-gritty numbers thing. It's completely incomprehensible to me that somebody can love that, but it is what he loves. So if he can create a lovely presentation and where everything aligns, and it makes him happy, and I go, okay, I don't understand that, but I am really happy to have you. So I think that's the goal, to design roles in such a way that everybody loves what they're doing as much as possible, and that I can do what I love doing, which is thinking and coaching and training advanced coaches and supervising and talking to business owners about how coaching can support their businesses.
If you look at this path, what would you say were key learnings that you would like to summarize at this end of our conversation, and that you say, okay, this is something that I really would want to pass on to aspiring and growing coaches, not only about the practice, but also about this approach to own development, business development, these aspects?
It's actually pretty simple. I don't think I can give advice, but one thing maybe to think about is put your heads in the cloud and think about, suppose in 5 years, I have all the elements in my life that I really enjoy. What will I be doing? I get up Monday morning, I do what? I go to bed Monday evening, having done what? Just really envision you doing what you love and where you feel like, using your word, it's my sweet spot, and think about that. And then don't go for it in a, now I need to get this, now I need to do this. Forget about it a little bit and see all the signs that are moving in the right direction, and appreciate all the opportunities that are coming your way. And maybe after you've appreciated 2 or 3 opportunities, that picture will change and something else will be possible. So I think this constant rocking back and forth between what you want and what you can do now, holding strategy and vision very lightly. More fun than, I need to go cross that milestone in 5 months. Oh no, I didn't cross that milestone. I've developed 10 other things that are helpful, but I'm ignoring them because I didn't cross that milestone.
So asking yourself the miracle question and imagining how it looked like if success happened.
And making sure that you revisit it every once in a while because it changes.
Nice. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This was my second episode with Kirsten Dierolf. If you can't get enough, I can really recommend our previous episode with Kirsten, where she demoed her coaching approach. Even more demos with Kirsten you can find on the YouTube channel of Solutions Academy. This is really packed with some really nice recordings. And if you say you're already good to check out Kirsten's courses, go to solutionsacademy.com. If you listen closely on this episode, you also heard that Kirsten really recommended the peer-to-peer support that you can get on the WhatsApp community of Solutions Academy. If that sounds cool, but you're not yet ready to sign up to Solutions Academy, then simply go to metafox.eu/community, where you can find our communities, also WhatsApp groups for now, entirely for free. This was the making of a coach. I hope you enjoyed today. And if you also have a friend who might enjoy this, feel free to share, feel free to leave us a rating, and tune in already next week. I'm Tobi from metaFox. All the best and bye-bye.